This is a video going over some of the problems on the first quiz. The first problem is find the inverse. So let me give the function. So the function is a of x equals 5 minus 4 over 7 minus 3x. Okay, so remember when the method we've been doing is undoing the function to find the inverse. So first let's put down the steps that how this function came to be. So starting with x, you would multiply by -3, then you would add 7, then you would take the reciprocal because you need it to be in the denominator, and then you'd multiply by 4, multiply by -1, and add 5. That would get us the function we currently have. Okay, so let's undo it. We're going to subtract 5, divide by -1, which this ends up being 5 minus x. Then we're going to do the opposite of multiplying by 4 is dividing by 4. So 5 minus x divided, not 5 minus 4, 5 minus x divided by 4. Then do the reciprocal. So I've got 4, 5 minus x minus 7, and then divide by -3. And I'm going to, instead of dividing by -3, the same thing as multiplying by -1/3. So a inverse of x is that. And this function is 1-to-1. There's nothing squared or to the 4th power, even power, so I do not need a restriction on it. Okay, that is problem 1a of x, finding the inverse. Let's go to now problem 6 and find, and we're going to do the range of A, B, and C. All right, so let's just make some space here. All right, so focusing on the ranges of these three functions. Okay, remember with focus, when you focus on the range, you're thinking what is coming out of the function. And so to figure that out, we always are looking to the variable part of the function, which is going to be this piece. And I know something squared, the smallest in this case could be 0, and then it could be huge. So I've got -2, 9 minus 0 to infinity. Then I've got the plus 5. And now we're going to do order of operations in the denominator. 9 minus 0 is 9, and 9 minus huge is going to be negative huge. So I've got the denominator ranging from -infinity to 9, but because it's in the denominator, we've got to exclude 0. And now we're going to analyze dividing -2 by each of the parts of the denominator. So -2 over negative huge, and negative over negative is going to be positive. And whenever you're dividing by enormous, it's getting close to 0. -2 over a tiny negative, again, positive. When you divide by something super close to 0, you get that explosive behavior. So it's going towards infinity. And now, -2 over 0 that's positive will be -infinity, and the closest it's going to get to 0 on the negative side will be -2/9, because I don't have in the denominator positive infinity. And then to each of those pieces you're going to add the plus 5. So that's going to bring us -infinity to 43/9 union 5 exclusive to infinity. Okay, so that is the range of part A. Let's move on to B of x. Scoot that up. Okay, so B of x, similar in the sense that I have a variable in the denominator, a variable that's squared nonetheless, but I'm inside a square root, meaning I can't be taking the square root of negatives. So I got to keep that in mind because I can't have this 5 over 9 minus x squared produce negative. So, but let's go back to the fact that we know coming out of x squared can't be negative. So I've got 0, just like the previous problem, I have 0 to infinity. And normally I'd say, okay, this is 5 negative infinity, we've got to exclude 0, 0 to 9. But remember, we're inside a square root, and we found the domain such that it was only going to be evaluating positives for 5 over 9 minus x squared. Therefore, this whole part, I can't get negatives because 5 over a negative will produce a negative, which is problematic. So the only thing I'm working with then inside this square root is 5, 0 to 9, with 9 being exclusive. Okay, so that means inside the square root, 5 divided by a tiny positive, huge. 5 divided by 9 is 5/9, and then I just need to take the square root. So my range is going to be square root of 5 over 3 to infinity. Okay, that was b of x. Last one, c of x. All right. So c of x is -1 over 2 minus the square root of x plus 3. Once again, if I'm looking at the variable piece, coming out of a square root can only be 0 or positive. So I'm going to have -1, 2 minus 0, huge. And that means I've got negative infinity, let's exclude 0, 0 to 2. Okay, and just like we've done in the previous two problems now, let's do our analysis, our division analysis. -1 over negative huge is going to be positive close to 0. -1 over negative tiny, negatives over negatives, remember, get us positives. -1 over tiny positive is going to be negative huge. And the closest it's going to get to 0 on the negative side will be -1/2. Okay, so that is it.